Hey everyone, it's Argonath here from The Right Way. Got a very sickening story from New Zealand again. These stories pop up far too frequently, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. We never really hear a lot of what goes on in New Zealand because it doesn't make the news, unfortunately. So this is just absolutely tragic. A woman is jailed for pouring boiling water on her son, burning 25% of his body. What a piece of filth. I hope she rots in prison for the rest of her life. But as you know, our soft judges in New Zealand would never go that far. And I bet she gets off with a very light sentence compared to what she has put this little boy through, which is absolutely disgusting. So let's read on. A boy who was tied to a bed and had boiling water poured over his body by his mother is the most damaged and saddest child an experienced social worker has met. The boy now faces a lifetime of physical and psychological pain, while his mother still denies harming him. What a piece of filth. The mother, who has permanent name suppression to protect her son's identity, was sentenced in the Palmerston North District Court on Friday to 8 years and 6 months jail. So you probably think, well, that's not too bad. That's a pretty hefty sentence. Wait till we get to the end of this article. She pleaded guilty to ill treatment of his son by not getting treatment for the burns, but she was found guilty after a trial in March before Judge Stephanie Edwards alone of causing grievous bodily harm with intent. It just goes beyond what I can imagine that she tried to fight the charge and say she didn't do it, but I guess she doesn't give a shit about this boy, and we'll see why later on in the article as well, that she doesn't care. The boy was taken to hospital in May 2019 with severe burns to 25% of his body, including his genitals and buttocks. Oh my God, as a man, that must be so excruciating. I just cannot understand what kind of pain this little boy had to go through. The boy and the mother both told police the burns were caused by the boy spilling hot pasta water on himself 5 days before he went to hospital. Even so, 5 days before he went to hospital, even if this were true at all, she should have taken him to hospital straight away, right? But we know it's not true, so we know why she didn't take him to hospital. But he later told a caregiver and social worker that he was tied down to a bed with a plastic bag beneath him, and his mother poured boiling water on him from a kettle. We should just do the same thing to her and see what. I mean, it just drives me insane, and I'm so angry that I get to the point of we should just do the same thing. What they perpetrated, we should do the same thing to them people. She treated the burns herself with bandages, honey, Vaseline, and other products she regularly purchased from a local supermarket before the boy went to hospital. A burn specialist found the burns likely happened about 11 days before the hospital visit and believed they more likely happened the way the boy described them than by spilled pasta water. His burns were so painful, hospital staff had to anesthetize him when changing his bandages, something which would not have happened while the mother administers care at home. Oh man, that is unbelievable. Imagine what pain he had to go through. The level of pain the boy must have been in while still at home and in hospital must have been harrowing. In his victim impact statement, he said school pupils mocked his scars and he needed to wear a pressure suit while the burns still hurt. He would need regular operations as his body grew. He had been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and suffered flashbacks. A social worker who worked with the boy said he would struggle to find his place in both general society and his peer group due to the offending against him. I don't know. I think most people would be rather accepting once they're of an adult age and stuff. The judge considered manslaughter cases, including the deaths of Moko Rangitohiriri and Delcelia Whitaker, as well as various child abuse cases while deciding the mother's sentence. The Crown wanted to judge the mother on trigger Section 8 of the Sentencing Act, requiring the maximum penalty to be imposed if the offending is within the most serious of its kind for the charge. I don't know, I mean, pouring boiling water over the genitals and body of a little boy must be close to the top end of offending, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not a judge, obviously, but as a lay person, it should be pretty close. But the judge, of course, here we go, bleeding heart liberal judges but the judge said the mother's offending, which had a maximum penalty of 14 years in jail, was just below that threshold. While the mother caused significant harm, it was not hours or days of violence against the boy, but it was amazingly a lot of pain, and the amount of pain he went through afterwards, it's just the same as torture, Judge. You didn't take that into account, did you? While she was changing his bandages and stuff, that was still torture because she wasn't able to anesthetize him or anything like that. So the maximum she could have got is 14 years. She was given 8.5 years, which is what, 3/4 of that sentence? I just can't believe that. It should have been at least over 10 to 12 years, right? Even if it wasn't 14. But here we go. Here's why. Bleeding heart judge probably gave her 8.5 years only. The mother has trauma of her own. She suffered abuse as a child. Her father was murdered and her relationship with her son's father was violent. That is no excuse to do what you did. The mother, when speaking to psychological experts, said she became pregnant with her son after being raped. So probably that's the cause of why she has no empathy for this kid. But still, you're still a human being, right? You still know what's right from wrong. You know that you shouldn't have done that, obviously, and you still did it. So there's no excuse in my book. Should be no leniency at all. There was no mental illness with a causative link to the offending, but the mother's background did require... here we go. The mother's background did require a lower sentence, the judge said. You are a bleeding heart liberal judge. You don't think of the little boy. You don't think of what he went through. You should have thrown the book at her so that other people... Well, actually, it probably doesn't make any difference to other people who offend in the future because I never think of those sort of things. But at least she's out of society and doing her penance in jail. No minimum period of imprisonment was imposed, meaning the woman must serve 1/3 of a sentence before being eligible for parole. So she could get out within 1/3 of her sentence, which is roughly about 3 years. That is absolutely ridiculous. Why did the judge not put a minimum period of imprisonment? Should have put in at least half, if not more, should have been a minimum period of imprisonment. The judges in New Zealand are absolutely woke. They're absolutely bleeding heart liberals. They never think of victims. They always think of the circumstances of the perpetrators, and they're too soft on these people. We've never tried to be hard on crime in New Zealand. People always say that we have. We never have. We've always been soft on crime. I don't care if they don't get rehabilitated. At least they're out of society, which means they can't go and hurt other people in society either. You know what an absolutely disgusting piece of filth trash woman this is. I hope she gets her comeuppance in prison, and I hope that she doesn't get parole at all and she serves the full sentence. But you can bet your bottom dollar she's going to behave herself really well in prison so that she can get out within 3 years time, which is an absolute tragedy. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'd love to know. If you like this video, even though the content is pretty bad, if you think I did a good job explaining it, then give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, then give it a thumbs down. And hopefully you will subscribe so that you can get notifications of my content when it comes out. Anyway, hopefully I'll catch you in the next video, which will hopefully be a bit more upbeat.